It looks like Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are trying to flip a current Tennessee Volunteer defensive line commitment. That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. I'm going to be talking about this young man that I'm going to start talking about in just a second, along with other Georgia Bulldog defensive line recruiting notes. Of course, you can read all of this over on Dawg Post. The story's already written, so make sure you are staying up to date and heading over to Dawg Post. But I want to start this video talking about Tyson Bacon. That's right, Tyson Bacon. Five-star name. He is a big-time defensive line prospect at a Hoover High School in Alabama. And to be honest, Tennessee was one of the first teams to really start pushing and recruiting hard for him. They landed his commitment, I believe, in October. But after a strong junior season, dude's seeing his recruitment take off in January. He's added offers from Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Southern Cal, and many more at the beginning of the year. So now he's basically open. I mean, if you're taking visits elsewhere, I don't care who you're committed to, you're not really committed. So he's verbally committed to Tennessee still, but he told me recently that he will be taking multiple visits to Athens. He'll be in Athens actually on March 14th for a spring visit. And then he has an official visit lined up to Georgia the weekend of May 16th. So this guy clearly has his eye on Georgia. And when I asked him if you're visiting anywhere, he said, yeah, here's my spring visit. Here's my official visit. And I kind of followed up with, okay, you know, what makes Georgia special? You're currently committed to Tennessee, but what makes Georgia kind of high on your list still? He said, quote, "It's my dad's favorite place." I said, oh, okay, well, I appreciate the honesty. As a dad myself, that means something, right? If you're out there taking visits and your dad says, hey, this is my favorite place, odds are that team is probably going to be in the mix throughout. He said the coaching staff at Georgia there are really big on relationships, and that is very important. And yeah, there's no doubt about that. Trey Scott, Georgia's defensive line coach, probably the best defensive line coach in college football. His resume speaks for itself, and he's all about relationships. No doubt about it. That's how he was able to land a lot of these big-time former Georgia defensive linemen who are off to the NFL. But Tyson Bacon, definitely a guy to keep an eye on, and I thought that comment definitely stood out as someone who's committed to another SEC program. He said, hey, well, my dad likes Georgia more than anything. So we'll see if Georgia, gets some momentum after this spring visit, which is basically next week. It's in 10 days. And then we'll see how things go for that official visit. But with all these offers on board, I expect his ranking to rise because he's not ranked super high right now, and that's not going to excite a lot of Georgia fans. He's the number 37 defensive line prospect, number 403 overall. If you go look up his numbers on Max Preps, they're not great. 30, 40 tackles, a few tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And so that kind of had me, interested. I said, well, these numbers aren't really great, but he's got all these offers, let's check out the film. Of course, you can watch the film, his junior highlights, over on Dawg Post for free. I think it's a free story. Make sure you go check it out. It could be free. I'll check on that after this. But if you turn on the film, it's easy to see why. He's a big kid, 6'4", 265. And he's, every once in a while, he'll make that eye-opening kind of drive-killing play. There's plays where he's just blowing up two guys, making a play in the backfield. Other plays where he doesn't necessarily make the sack or the tackle, but he's causing chaos, and someone else kind of cleans up the mess that he created. But he's big, he's physical, he's quick off the line, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if his ranking continues to rise over time, because that's what happens in the recruiting industry. If you get offers from Georgia and Alabama and Southern Cal, so on and so on, your ranking's going to rise, right? College coaches are better at evaluating these players than the guys who make the stars. Okay, that's just how it is. And if Georgia and Alabama says, okay, you're good enough to play for us, the folks who make these stars on these other outlets are going to say, okay, well, maybe we have him, incorrectly ranked. We're going to change that up a little bit. So, he's just a 3-star. I expect that to change. He looks like a 4-star on film to me. And of course, we've got a breakdown over on Dawg Post. But with Georgia only taking 2 true interior defensive linemen in the last cycle, Elijah Griffin, easy 5-star, one of the best prospects in the country, and J.J. Hand, kind of a project. He was a kid from Germany who moved over to the States to play football. He played out of California. He's all potential, just a 3-star, but that means Georgia needs to kind of find more guys who could play on the interior. They had 3 edge guys, and those guys will probably continue adding weight, and they'll play with their hand on the ground and play on the defensive line. But as far as the interior goes, it does feel like Georgia needs to add a few bodies there. Another target to know is Keyshawn Stansel, an out-of-state kid out of Clayton High School in North Carolina. He had an in-home visit with Trey Scott back in January. 6'3", 260 pounds, made 63 tackles, 22 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks with 3 forced fumbles. He's the number 18 defensive lineman, number 199 overall. He's going to be in town for an official visit April 3rd. Also, before I talk about other defensive line prospects and targets, Georgia's having some of the best players in the country visiting in the month of March and into April, and there's a big story coming up and a video coming up probably this week explaining all that. So right now, again, this is the time to be over on Dawg Post. We're writing big time stories left and right just on a daily basis. There's a lot of recruiting news going on. Recruiting still matters, okay? It still matters, especially when, a team like Georgia's trying to flip a Tennessee commitment, right? So we'll see where things go there. But Tyson Bacon, again, 5-star name. That's awesome. I would, selfishly like this kid to commit to Georgia. It doesn't matter to me. I cover whoever's on the team, but it would be awesome to cover a kid named Tyson Bacon. But yeah, Keyshawn Stansel is an out-of-state 4-star to get to know. Bryce Perry Wright, that's an in-state kid out of Buford. We've been talking about 6'3", 260. I mean, none of these guys are like 300 plus pounds. So that's probably the difference that we're seeing. And to be honest, it's not a very deep class across the country as far as elite defensive linemen go. I don't know if there's a truly elite guy. I don't think there's anyone close that I've seen that compares to an Elijah Griffin or a Justice Terry, who I still think is really, really good. I think he's going to be great at Texas, but it seems like that he was even more important now or then, because there's just not a lot of those type of guys in this class. Tyson Bacon, Keyshawn Stansel are 2 out-of-state guys to know. Bryce Perry Wright at Buford is a guy to know. 57 tackles, 13 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks. He's the number 4 defensive line prospect in the country, number 53 overall, and he's going to be in town this spring and summer as well. A guy to keep an eye on. Another in-state guy, Ernest Rankings out of Southwest DeKalb. Again, lean, aggressive, but he's not overly big. He's got a promising frame, 6'4", about 260. He'll continue to add good weight. He's the number 4 defensive line prospect in the country, number 41 overall. So if you go look at the rankings, a lot of these big-time, highly ranked defensive linemen for this 2026 class, a lot of them are in Georgia. Bryce Perry Wright, Ernest Rankings are 2 of them. Deuce Gerald's is another. He's out of Collins Hill. He continues to add good weight. I think he's around the 260, maybe 270 range. Again, out of Collins Hill, he's dominated his entire high school career playing against outstanding competition in Gwinnett County week after week after week. Georgia was on him late, but we'll see if things can materialize. He had 81 tackles, 30 tackles for a loss, 14 sacks. That guy's only getting better and better and better. And then you've got some edge guys to keep an eye on as well. But Tyson Bacon currently committed to the Tennessee Volunteers. Other guys will emerge. There's a kid in Florida, James Johnson, who holds a Georgia offer. He's going to be in town for a spring visit as well. If you want to read more about him, head over to the website because we've got a lot of really good stuff over there. But this video, basically, Tyson Bacon, again, committed to Tennessee, and rarely will you see a guy that Tennessee kind of evaluates first and gets on, and then Georgia says, okay, we're going to pick up on this kid now and get on him. Usually it's the other way around. If Georgia offers a kid, then everyone else ends up starting to offer, right? That's just how it kind of goes. But we'll see. And again, it's hard. Things are different. Recruiting's not the same, unfortunately. If a kid commits in the spring or winter, anytime right now, it's not really a commitment. And I hate to say that as someone who covers recruiting. I'm just being real with you. Even guys that are committed to Georgia, if you're taking other visits, especially multiple other visits to multiple other schools, you're not committed, right? So it almost feels like most prospects nowadays do not sign with the team they originally commit to. Vance Spafford is a commit that Georgia has right now, a big-time wide receiver. He's taken a lot of other visits. Wouldn't surprise me if he decommitted. Jatavius Wyman has scheduled a physical visit elsewhere. He's out of Jonesboro. He's been committed to Georgia since, I think, last summer, but you just never know. But Mr. Tyson Bacon here out of Alabama, Hoover High School, he's definitely a guy that I think Georgia fans need to keep a close eye on because, his family, including his dad, they love Georgia. And, Georgia's got a chance. If they want this kid, they have an opportunity to push for him, make him a priority, not only in about a week and a half when they get him on campus again, but with that key official visit this summer. So an out-of-state lineman committed elsewhere. Definitely a guy that it seems like Georgia is starting to possibly push for more and more. They're high on Georgia. We'll see if he moves up Georgia's recruiting board this spring or summer, but still definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. And again, you can read all of this over on Dawg Post, so make sure you're doing that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over on the website.